AI is getting applied into healthcare, for instance, where we're seeing a few startups, and I could name a few, using it for diagnostics, health prediction, that kind of stuff. You will hear about these startups. You will not hear about the AI. You will hear about what they're doing in healthcare. You will hear about startups using it for business software, for instance, for customer support, customer experience. We have a few in our portfolio. Again, you will hear about them as startups doing customer support, not about startup doing AI. We have in our portfolio, for instance, a startup that's been doing this for 5 years, and it's not marketed as AI. I think what is going to happen in the coming months and years is that these startups will own a bit more, the use of AI they have, and you will hear a lot more of them. It will seem like they came out of nowhere, but the reality is there are a lot of startups already in our market using AI to do what they're doing.
Are you seeing other firms, large firms, tapping into the market in the way that they were in previous years, or is it still slowly building?
Listen, we had one amazing success story in the region with, InstaDeep, that was built by really very, sophisticated AI builders, and that was tapped by a global firm and acquired last year. We're already seeing across this region, again, startups working with global players in fintech that are using AI because if you're going to do, for instance, lending in Africa with unstructured data, AI is really an amazing tool to work through this data and be able to score and make predictions about your business. The fact that InstaDeep got acquired is a very good signal that all the global firms are watching this technology in Africa and will come and work with these startups.
So then, Tidjane, when we think about the rest of the year, what do you think the trends are going to be that drive investment, that drive PE and VC investment into Africa? Will they continue to be healthcare and fintech, or could we see even more new trends that are emerging?
I think the good news is that the traditional trends, let's say fintech, e-commerce, and business, are still driving most of the growth in Africa. And that's good news in a sense, because it means there is a lot of room for growth in these spaces. Last year only, fintech grew 60% in Africa in terms of investment it attracted. And it attracted something like 60% of the $3 billion that was invested in Africa. E-commerce is still at a very early stage in Africa. It is still a very fast-growing sector. And B2B software is still a fast-growing sector. And this is good news because these sectors are proven elsewhere. We know they're going to work out. We know you're going to build valuable companies in this space, and we know that they're going to be very good exits for PEs and VCs who invest in this space. So this is already one good news. Then you can see the trends emerging. For instance, for the last 2 years, we've seen climate-related startups emerge in Africa and drive a lot of investment. You can see a lot of it happening already in East Africa, and we're already seeing some happen in West Africa. And what is interesting is they have become more sophisticated. For instance, we've invested this year in a startup that is helping grids manage their energy better and reduce losses. And this is a direct impact on energy and climate. So we will see a lot more of these climate tech companies. We're also seeing, and this is something something I personally have been waiting to see a lot, it is the digitization of sectors like agriculture and mobility. These are very deep economic sectors in our market that will gain a lot from digitization and that startups have barely started touching. So we expect a lot of growth in this space, alongside the growth in the usual traditional fintech, B2B software, and e-commerce.
What do you see as the greatest challenge then as an investor? You talked about climate. There's a number of issues that are still a bit of a question mark with the new U.S. administration in terms of the needs. So then as an investor investing into some of these companies, what worries you potentially?
So I see a challenge which we could turn into an opportunity. Last year, when the global VC meltdown started, exactly 50% of the investors active in the tech space in Africa left the market overnight. That meant all of a sudden it became harder for all startups to raise money. However, it also meant that it created a vacuum that local capital, local investors, dedicated African funds could fill. And this is what I see it as an opportunity. It is an opportunity for us African investors to grow and address all of these gaps and opportunities. And it is a challenge for each of our countries to see how they can support the growing investment ecosystem in Africa and make sure that we create a lot of funds, importantly at the seed stage, that will fund the thousands of startups that are looking for capital in Africa. There are really three things you need to make the ecosystem work. You need talent, you need market, and you need capital. We definitely have talent in Africa. We have very deep markets. We are vastly underserved in capital, and it is a challenge today and probably an opportunity for us to grow.
So you don't worry about some of the other macro headwinds in the global market?
Listen, the way I put it is these headwinds, as an entrepreneur in Africa, you deal with them every day. You know, FX is volatile. Ask any Nigerian entrepreneur, yes, they know it, and they build with this in mind, and they can work around it. Ask any entrepreneur in Egypt, they'll tell you they went through a 70% devaluation of their currency over the last 2 years, and they grow their startups faster than this. So there is some resilience against these, general volatile trends in the market. What is, for me, the more important challenge is, the more long-term investment infrastructure that we need to build so that we can fund innovation. We can support innovation that will grow our economies. But I am, maybe a tech optimist, but I do see the tech community in Africa going through these let's say, troubled times, saying this is business as usual. It is for most of them.